I move we come out of closed session.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are now out of closed session. Mrs. Swinford, could you please read the certification of the closed session, please?
Yes, sir. Whereas the New Kent County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the New Kent County School Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Kent County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirement by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the New Kent County School Board.
Do I hear a motion to approve the certification of the closed session?
I move we approve the certification of the closed session.
Mr. Mead, could you turn your microphone on, please?
Do I hear a second?
A second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The approved certification of the closed session. Well, good evening, everyone. This is our July 31st meeting, work session meeting. This meeting is such that there is no public comments, and so we will work through the agenda this evening as that has been posted this evening. And so we will start with new business with healthcare rate updates. Miss Anderson.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Nichols. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the changes in our healthcare program for next year. Our finance team, Ms. Moore-Time, has been working very hard on adjusting things, and HR is trying very diligently to make sure that we have nice options for our employees. So this evening we'll talk about the changes. The rates are posted on the board docs, and so the changes will be as follows. At first, our employee-only rates for our medical benefits will not be changing. I think that's a fantastic thing. We see healthcare rates across all divisions going up, and I'm very thankful that if you are only carrying yourself as an employee on the benefits plan, your rates will not be changing. Higher adjustments will be needed for family plans that include spouses. So I think this is one of the areas that we can inform our employees about the most. I know that HR will be holding benefit sessions where we can counsel our employees. A lot of our employees may find that it is more economical to have a spouse on the spouse's employer's plan if that's available. However, I know for some it isn't. My family, for example, will be on the plan with spouse and everything, and so I still find it's cheaper than in the going rate. But it is something I think if there's an option, that might be something for our employees to discover, and we'll help them do that. Also, we have a nice opportunity this year, and have tried really hard, and will continue to do so, to educate our employees about high deductible plans. So we will be doing that during open enrollment. The high deductible plans are a great way to save money from the monthly deductions from their paychecks. So that's a great option, and we are partnering with McGriff to help us kind of educate everybody as far as that goes. Also new this year, we will have vision offered through Anthem. We did already have vision offered through Anthem, but we also had a separate company that was doing it, so we thought we were kind of paying for things twice, so let's combine all to Anthem, and those options seem to be better for the employees as well. So it will be not as expensive, and they will have more opportunity to save on their vision care. We will also be offering this year short-term disability as well as long-term care options that we will be discussing and educating our employees on. We will also have critical illness and accident coverages this year, switching to the standard. So we had several groups that were sponsoring all these different options that we have for benefits, and we thought it would be better to consolidate carriers. So the Standard is a group that currently was doing our short-term disability, and now they will be doing critical illness and accident coverage as well. There will be no changes to dental plans or dental rates. And also, there will be no plan. We had a discussion of a short year plan, possibly consolidating with the county, and that will not be occurring. So those are the major updates for healthcare as far as HR is concerned. And again, we will be offering 5 different sessions for employees to come and answer questions and be guided through the open enrollment process. And we also do private counseling if anybody needs it.
Any questions?
When are those sessions going to be scheduled? Do you know?
They're the first week of school.
Okay.
So the very first day for new teachers is August 21st,
Mm-hmm.
and the sessions start that day.
Great.
The other thing that we're doing different to help educate is we are now offering, or having, I should say, they're mandatory. New employees have orientation now in person, and so we're counseling them
Great.
there as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Allison and her team have done a nice job. These orientation sessions are small group. So you're with 8 to 10 other new teachers. So Tammy Waters in Allison's office has been doing a great job of getting them acclimated. So when they come to the new teacher breakfast to kick off orientation, they're really already oriented throughout the summer. So
It's a big decision, so we just want people to be comfortable with it and educated on what decisions they're making for the year.
Was there just not enough synergy to have the conversation about the county merging with the school? Was that?
yes, sir. So McGriff did present at a work session for the county and went through those pieces. I hope that we continue those. We're going to continue those conversations, but it was a little too fast on that side. So I wouldn't say it's completely not going to happen. There's a lot of wisdom and advantage to coming together to have a group over 500 employees. But the timing was a little quick to make that happen. So we backed out of our short plan year, and we'll continue the conversation and to have a good health year with our rate increases and be able to continue. So we're continuing that conversation and hope at some point we'll be able to join forces.
And do you know how many employees the county has, roughly?
I know combined, so we have healthcare wise.
Yeah.
So I know the two groups combined take you over 500, 550, 560. 500 is a bit of a magic number for healthcare places. You
Right.
get more leverage and more buying power to get over 500. We're in the threes,
Yes, 360.
360 by ourselves. So, yeah, less than we do,
Yep.
but combined, we can do some pretty smart work.
Good.
Thank you all very much.
I'm just curious, how many, approximately how many folks participate in the wellness program? Do we have good participation?
Yeah, actually, it's been growing. So we made a change to the program last year that made it a lot easier for our employees to participate. And I can get the exact number off the head, but I think it's way more than half that participate in it. And it's an exceptional way to save. Like when you look at the rates and you compare the wellness rates with the non-wellness rates, it's a tremendous savings. This year we'll be adding a little to the program where the spouses of the employees will also be getting the physical, and it doesn't even have to be physical, it can be preventative maintenance. And so when they participate, they'll be able to continue in that program. Even better would be a high deductible and wellness is a tremendous savings.
And ultimately, you're personally benefiting from having healthier behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Not? Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Our next agenda item under new business is the school nutrition rate increase. Ms. Morheim?
Yes, Mr. Mead, board members, Dr. Nichols. Tonight, just wanted to bring a couple figures to you with regards to our school nutrition program and our updated rates for next year. Just real briefly, wanted to just kind of show you the revenues estimated for the current year. Just a couple of points. I think we served some more kids than what we were expecting this year, which was great. We also had an increase in the federal reimbursement rate, which also helped the federal revenues you see there for 22-23, and of course you see that big jump during the COVID years due to the free meals that we were offering. For the expense side, a little bit of the same thing. Labor was low during COVID, but we are definitely school nutrition is allowed to carry 3 months of their, what we call fund balance. With the state, they have to report that every year. We're at about 6.5 months. So what the state does is they make you put together a plan of how you plan to actually spend down that money. So we'll continue to do that next year with just buying equipment. We've made our salaries a little bit more competitive for school nutrition. So really trying to put the money back into the programs. And that's kind of our continued plan. Last slide is really just the pricing. There's a tool that we have to use to calculate, and we would be required to increase 10 cents. Leslie is suggesting a 25% increase, so you can see the current meal prices on the left with the suggested price increase on the right, which would bring us up 25 cents. And the goal is that we would hold that into the 24-25 school year as well. That's what we anticipate to be able to do. We feel like those meal rates are appropriate. Cost is definitely up with food. I do think that we will see more of our expenses next year being higher because of that. Not necessarily covering every single meal that we offer, but still, Leslie's trying to make profit, and she always does a really good job with that, so we're very proud of her. If anyone has any questions about that.
I guess just as a reminder for the record is that the school nutrition program is self-funded. It is not a budgeted item that we require, that comes out, basically. Is that correct?
So basically, Leslie was, she's responsible for funding all of her salaries and benefits out of school nutrition. She also paid the bonuses to her employees last year in times that we've done that. She does purchase equipment. For example, this year we bought a generator for George Watkins Elementary School to make sure that we had food covered for power outages and things like that.
Didn't we buy a whole freezer for
We
George
bought a whole
Watkins?
outdoor freezer.
Right. Year before that.
Yeah, so we put a lot of that money in. There are things that she's not allowed to purchase. So you might see some requests coming with like upgrades to her kitchens and HVAC type solutions that we brought to you before where we have to pay for those types of things. She is definitely ready and willing and anxious and has a lot of really good ideas and has definitely done a great job with putting that money where it matters.
And this rate increase does come before you guys for a vote later on. Once we have that, it'll be part of our back to school promotions and back to school communications about free and reduced lunch forms, meal rates, My Payments Plus, My Meals Plus, that app that My School Bucks, My School Bucks that we utilize as well. So that'll all be part of a package of promotion for families.
Good. The next item is the award of the school nutrition contracts. Ms. Moreheim?
So one thing Leslie does, and we're really thankful that she's a part of this Southside Food Cooperative. So the way procurements work, and I'm sure you all know cooperative procurement, we use a lot of that in New Kent because it saves our time and energy and resources by piggybacking off of other divisions who have done the work for the procurement, and then we go and find what they have gotten a great deal on, and we piggyback. So we actually do that on behalf of 27 divisions for school nutrition. We are the contract, and they piggyback off of our contract. So we just recently did 4 bids. We did milk, smoothies, individual pizzas, and ice creams. And you'll notice that for the milk, we put the bid out that we would accept 2 vendors because there are members in the co-op where one or the other couldn't service them or their area. So we will go into 2 contracts, but we will only utilize one of them, if that makes sense. So we're just asking for your approval tonight to authorize Dr. Nichols to sign the contract agreements.
Thank you very much. Any other questions about school nutrition? All right, next is the CIP transfers for athletics. Mr. Hockman?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols. Tonight I come before you to discuss the CIP transfer for athletics for a total amount of $10,000. $6,000 of that would be to do work on the well. The well would be able to support irrigation for our stadium is for upgrades to the concession stand at the stadium.
Any questions? Are the upgrades for the concession stand, is that going to be a contracted amount for a contractor to upgrade? Is that,
What we do have a contractor that's doing some work. We're adding fryers. So
Okay.
there's some lines that need to be run through the gas. So that's what most of that work will revolve around, and also a foundation for where the fryers will be placed.
And is it gonna be outside, or is there?
Outside, outside, yes.
Yeah.
Brian Bennett, New Camp Fire, has been through this whole process before we even got started with being able to do this. So, yes. So,
We've been told that the addition of fryers will dramatically change the intake.
Yeah.
It's a big French fry.
goes against our wellness initiative. But
Yeah, exactly. I was getting ready to say, school nutrition services.
So,
Maybe we can jump on the milk co-op for games, right?
I love a good chocolate milk. Yeah.
So I wanted to know a little bit more about the well. Is
Yeah,
that a new well, or is
No, it is an old well. Currently, what you have, we do not have irrigation for our stadium or for the baseball, softball fields, and we're making do without that. But it's very difficult with the number of teams we have playing, particularly on the stadium. The well needs some work, and this initial $6,000 is sort of a little bit of work and really an assessment of what's going on in the well. They're going to take the cap off of the well. They're going to send a camera down in there to see kind of what's going on. They're going to have to clean the filters in the well, and they're all probably going to have to drop the well to the water level. And we're going to have to check that level. There's a lot of rules and regulations in regards to wells and how to go about fixing them. So this first piece is hoping that it is a relatively easy fix. And if it's not, we would potentially come back to the later point on what we need to do.
And this is a sort of a
Scary.
precursor. So environmental is also involved in this anytime
Right.
you're doing this kind of work. You know, long-term, short-term, long-term, we need a different solution for our fields. So we're adding middle school field hockey. The number of teams that are now playing on those fields, we really need to look at a different solution. You know, more of a long-term solution. Yes. So, I mean, right now we are the outside of Smithfield, the only team in the Bay River is not on turf, including Bruton now has their own turf field. Pecoson's on their second turf field. But when you look at soccer and you look at field hockey and you look at middle school football, high school football, like they're all playing on the same field. That field cannot, even under the best conditions, stand up to that kind of use and wear and tear. So you'll see a big push for us coming into the fall with CIP and the work that we're doing. We've got to move forward on that. And if we can't do this well thing, that just brings an even greater sense of urgency to those facilities.
And I know that it is a need because we do need water at baseball and softball. For those fields that are playable at the level they need to be, we have 2 state championship teams. We need to put water on fields before games. So regardless of what happens with the stadium, this is something that needs to be done. It's not just for those 2 teams.
And I think the other piece to that pie is it has to be a well because theoretically we couldn't afford the water if we had to tie into the county water system to be able to water those on a regular basis. It just wouldn't be cost effective. Is that correct?
That is another solution, but you're right. The cost associated with that,
Yeah.
it would be.
They would not give us a waiver, would they?
I can't speak to that. I'll give you a waiver.
Yeah.
But that's the update
Yeah.
on what's going on with the athletic transfer.
Good. Thank you so much. The VSBA Media Honor Roll nominations, Dr. Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mead. Annually, we, with the VSBA, Virginia School Board Association, nominate someone or entity for the 2023 Media Honor Roll. This year, as in past years, we want to nominate the New Kent Charles City Chronicle. Specifically, we would like to nominate both Andre Jones and Rob Johnson. Rob covers all of our athletics and spends a lot of time with us at the board meeting and has to hear me on the sidelines, so he definitely deserves. And also Andre. They just are incredibly consistent about reporting all things New Kent, and we're very appreciative of that. So that will come before you as well. So there's a whole proclamation, and we'll do it as a recognition at our August board meeting.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely agree. Those are honors most well deserved. Now we are on to old business, the VSBA policy updates. The first reading, Dr. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. What you have before you and listed in board docs is the semi-annual policy updates through the VSBA. And these align new law change in code revisions. So most of them, 90+% are policy and cross references updated, no actual change to it. And the other changes at this point are minimal as we go through these pieces. I do want to mention not on here is a model policy that the state has brought forward in the past couple weeks, and that is a model policy treatment of students. In the past, this is the third iteration of this model policy. We have stood with our non-discrimination policies and continue to do that work. We take care of every kid, and we work with families in partnership. So that continues to be our plan. There may be where we have to add additional language to that to stay in compliance. The good news is the practices we have in place with families really stand well with the model policy. We just may have to add some additional language. So if that's the case, you would see that in August. If our current non-discrimination policy stands up, we'll communicate that as well. But since we were talking about policies, I wanted to, add that piece in there. So continue to work with legal regarding that.
All right, any questions?
And this is a first read, does not come before you for a vote tonight. So if you have any questions, concerns, or work we need to do in between, feel free to reach out and we will do that work accordingly. We will be overhauling our policy manual to make it more user-friendly, reader-friendly, more interactive, potentially connecting to board docs instead of being standalone. So that's a first semester project that we have going once we get schools up and running, but we'd like to have a substantial upgrade to that. It's a little clunky and a little hard to navigate and find stuff on. So we think we can do better.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Nichols. And then the update on the 23-24 Student Handbook Code of Conduct, second read. Mr. Hockman.
Good evening again. I'm coming before you for a second read on the Code of Conduct. As you will recall, I'm not going to do the full presentation. I'll just hit some of the highlights. We had a very robust team that came together in May to include teachers, administrators, parents, and students that took a look at the Code of Conduct. From there, we came up with some recommendations that we felt were what we wanted to ask for. There were 19 changes related to dispositions. 6 changes were solely related to including an SRO to be notified. I know that you had some potential questions as we looked at this last time, so I wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to ask those questions.
Also, in addition, the changes allowed us more flexibility to take a stronger stance on discipline. So in each case, we added a level to it because we have found, looking at our discipline data, that sometimes a student might need more than they were getting the way the Code of Conduct was written, and it puts us in line with other school divisions and how they handle those pieces. So it really gives the administrator more flexibility.
And we also, and along with that, we audited other divisions around us, and we were more in line with some of those. We were a little soft in a couple of areas, and we thought in some of these areas we really did need a greater range so that the administrators could do what they felt was appropriate.
Any questions? And when you had all these sessions or these meetings or roundtables with these, with the teachers, the administrators, parents, or students, what was your overall feedback in dealing with the Code of Conduct? I mean, did they think like we were way off base, or do they think that it is a pretty good document to use as we enact discipline from a school division perspective?
I think the overall perspective from all groups, parents, students, teachers, and administrators, is that we do have a good document. I think that there was a belief that in some areas we did not have the range that was needed for some of the offenses that were coming down. And what we don't want to do is have to code that's not where that offense really was. We want to be able to identify the offense, find it in the book, and have the range that is appropriate. I think some of the additions that we've made or recommended for you will allow us to get better data as a result of the offense matches up to what the outcome really was.
And part of the work we are doing with administrators, and we'll definitely do more of in August, is scenario based. This is what happened. How do you code it? So we try to pull data all the time for specific offenses, but it is coded as something different than, like, two kids got into an altercation. It may not be coded as a fight. It's coded as a this. We just have to be consistent so we can pull data and bring you recommendations based on that data. So
Similarly with that, with dress code, we
that's the one.
identify dress code as dress code, not failure to comply. So when we're looking at data, we're looking at accurate data too. So
We had very few dress code violations noted, and we know that's not accurate. But it was failure to comply, or it was, you know, these other codes. Let's call it dress code, so that we can go, okay, what was the issue and how do we do it? So I think that's the other piece that we've learned, is just to have that consistency in coding related to incidents.
It's a communication thing. We can definitely address that by meeting and sitting down with the folks that are actually dealing with discipline on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think it was the board's consensus when we talked about this at the end of the school year, that I think everyone's concern was that it was just consistency, is that making sure that every school is kind of communicating that this is an offense, because we didn't want that George Watkins to say that it's not an offense and Quentin says, oh, yes, it is. And then New Kent says, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think that's where we have to gain some continuity, where, especially since we have 3 elementary schools, I would see that would be one of our big concerns across the board as parents talk and as we administrators get on the same page, so we can have that type of consistency.
I think what we find is kids at all schools do the same thing, all elementary kids, and looking at data is kind of a stepping in point to that. If one school is overrepresented or underrepresented, we're probably not being consistent in how we handle that. Having accurate data will allow us to go back and have those conversations and hopefully get everybody pretty much doing the same thing.
And along the same lines, Mr. Mead, an 8th grader and a 9th grader, making sure that we have similar consequences. Because a lot of our 8th graders really struggle when they go to high school, and that same offense, it has a very different consequence. The consequence should change as you get older, but we really want to kind of close that gap between 8 and 9 so the kids transition.
So they thought they got away with it at middle school. Why can't they get away with it
It's
in
not
high school?
ISS anymore. It's this, or, you know, just
Gotcha.
so consistency would be the theme throughout. Communication, understanding the code of conduct, and then consistency.
Any questions about code of conduct? I did talk to Dr. Nichols earlier about, or we were communicating, that it seems like that some of these school divisions with these, and we've had this ongoing conversation for years, and I know there's never a simple answer to it, that some divisions are really getting very, very aggressive on their communication devices, on phones and, you know, watches and earbuds. And I know that a couple of divisions have completely banned them. Like when you arrive, and it doesn't matter if you're middle school or high school, it has to go in your backpack and has to stay off the entire day. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to unfold in the upcoming school year, because now we become more and more dependent on those devices, and how that's going to be dealt with on a consistent basis. Because I would say in the era that we're in, that is going to really be most school divisions' Achilles' heels in how they deal with that, as you know, from a disciplinary standpoint of view. So interesting times that we live in. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Hockman. Now we are to our agenda point number 4, our action items. And so we do have quite a few action items through this stage of our meeting. So I will go through those that require our approval as a board. Our first item is that, do I hear a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for personnel matters as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the superintendent's recommendations for personnel.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Any discussion? If not, then we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the superintendent recommendations passes as presented. The next item on the agenda is the considered approval of the school nutrition rate increase. Do I hear a motion to approve the school nutrition rate increase as presented?
I move that we approve the SNS rate increase as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, then we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion to approve the rate increase as presented passes. The next item is to consider the approval of the SNS contracts. Do I hear a motion to approve the SNS contracts as presented?
I move we approve the school nutrition services contracts as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that the SNS contracts as presented passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration for the approval of the CIP transfer for athletics as presented. Do I hear a motion to approve the CIP transfer for athletics as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the CIP transfer for athletics as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, then we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that the approval for the CIP transfer for athletics passes. The next consideration is the approval of the VSBA Media Honor Roll nominees. Do I hear a motion to approve the VSBA Media Honor Roll nominees as presented?
I move that we approve the VSBA Media Honor Roll nomination as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The VSBA Media Honor Roll nominations as presented passes. Our last item on the agenda is the approval of the 23-24 Student Handbook Code of Conduct. Do I hear a motion to approve the 23-24 Student Handbook Code of Conduct as presented?
I move we approve the 2023-24 Student Handbook Code of Conduct as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, then we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The Student Handbook Code of Conduct is approved as presented for the upcoming 23-24 school year. Thank you, Board. So now we'll go to school board member and superintendent comments. And so, Ms. Barber, we'll start with you.
I just want to, as usual, express my appreciation for the staff and administration and everything you do to keep us informed and provide us with good data in order to make decisions.
Thanks. I would also like to add a congratulations for our central office team for filling so many vacant positions. I think we only have 4 positions right now that are open across all 5 of our schools. And so that's a huge congratulations to you and Allison and the team. So thank you very much for that. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Ms. Swinford?
I have one comment. Just last week, in an announcement from the governor's office, Governor Youngkin praised the unanimous vote to establish the first lab school in Virginia, which included our Code RVA. Lab school is going to be a joint venture between Code RVA and VCU's Center for Teacher Leadership. So that was an exciting announcement. Dr. Nichols definitely participates on that board, and we have students at Code RVA. So that was a really great initiative that was announced last week. So we're definitely excited to be a part of that down at Code RVA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swinford. Dr. Nichols?
Thank you, Mr. Mead. We have a lot of exciting work going on behind the scenes, whether it's bus lot paving for the first time, to court refinishing, HVAC work. And people often say, what do you do in the summer? We do a lot to get ready, and we're in a good spot for that. Ms. Daskell did mention that we do have a couple of spots left on Team New Kent. We're in great shape. But if you teach English, math, secondary, both, science, or elementary special ed, we have a spot for you. So just give us a call, and we will finalize that this week.
Only one of each.
Yes, correct. So,
Only
but-
one of each of those.
it's just, New Kent is an incredible community, and we have great schools and amazing people, and we're just very fortunate and excited about the school year coming up. So, and just on a personal note, I just want to thank the New Kent community. Many of you know my dog ran away. We had a house fire in 17 days, and I will tell you, this community rallied. I mean, more people went looking for that dog than probably would have looked for me. But it's just so amazing. It just reminds me on why I love this place so much, because it's an incredible community. But Tippy is home, life is good, and we're ready to start the school year. So thank you, Mr. Meade.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols, and that is good news. I've never seen a rampage of people about, did y'all check the trap today? Where's the trap? Did anybody see my dog? Exactly. It was like, where's Waldo? I mean, it was like the whole thing. But I think that is incredible what Dr. Nichols says and how the community rallies to take care of its own. And I think that's one of the things that all of our board does an incredible job, is to rally around one another in the community as well, to support the initiatives that are set forth in our community and the initiatives that we have that are coming up for the upcoming school year, and all the hard work that the central office staff does in making it happen, from finances to HR, to the back, behind the doors, things for facilities. And so it is an incredible opportunity that we have in this upcoming year to really shine. As our community continues to grow with economic development, we are looking forward to the opportunities to serve our community even more. So I do want to thank the other board members for their dedicated hard work in pressing forward and making this a great place to live and a great place for families to send their children to school. So that is exciting for the upcoming school year. So with any other comments or questions, or anybody have any other thing they would like to say this evening? If not, that completes our work session. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 21st, meeting August 21st, 2023 at the New Kent Historic Courthouse Boardroom. And that time will be 5 p.m., which closed session. That concludes our meeting at 6:11 p.m. Meeting is adjourned.